There's somebody that says, my faith is so weak. I just don't have enough faith. It's not strong enough. And so I don't know, I don't think that I am really saved for eternity because of my weak faith. Well, it is not a question whether we have a weak or whether we have a strong faith. It's a question that we have a genuine faith. A strong faith might give us more rest into our hearts. But when it comes to the question of our eternal salvation, that does not depend upon the question whether I have a weak or whether I have a strong faith, but whether I have faith at all, whether I have a genuine faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. And I want to illustrate this with the help of an example from the Old Testament that we all know very well. And that is the example that we read in Exodus chapter 12, the Passover, and the instructions that God gave the Israelites back then. And we read in Exodus chapter 12, verse 7. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but in verse 7 we read, "And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the two doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat." And then in verse 13, we read the very significant and remarkable words where God says, "And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt." Now let us imagine that there are two fathers. Both fathers have a son, right? Two households, and they follow the instructions of God here, and they take a lamb according to the instructions of God, and they kill it, and they take the blood and they put it on the two doorposts and on the lintel, and then they enter the house and they roast the lamb on the fire and so on. But the firstborn in the one house, he's celebrating, he's eating the Passover, and he's full of excitement, and he knows God has promised. He said, "And when I see the blood, when God sees the blood, he will pass over. There will be no judgment for me. God has said so." I don't know why, but God says, "When I see the blood." Obviously, there's a value in the blood of that lamb that we just slaughtered, and in the blood that we have put on the doorpost and the lintel, and God sees that, and he understands, but that's the reason why God is going to pass over. And he's full of joy and excitement, and he eats the Passover as instructed by God, and everything is fine. But in the other house, the firstborn, he's hiding, he's somewhere in the dark corner, and he's shaking and he's shivering, and does God really pass over? I don't know. Yeah, he said so, but is that really enough? I mean, I don't know. And then maybe he will judge me after all. I don't know. There's weak faith and there's strong faith. The one takes God at his word. The other doesn't take him at his word so much. Yes, both have applied the blood on the doorpost and the lintel. Both have followed the instructions of God. And we know when God went over, he saw both times, he saw the blood. Both were saved. God saw the blood of the lamb and he passed over both times. But there was the weak faith and there was the strong faith. And yes, the strong faith gives us more rest in our hearts. But both, whether weak or strong faith, both were covered, both were saved. Why? Because the one had strong faith? No, because of the blood that they applied, because they were obedient, because they did have faith, and they did as God commanded them. And so if you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, you shall be saved. That is God's promise.